Welcome back everyone, Mark with Exotic Car Play Place. Today we're going to talk about the E60 M5 versus the M4 GTS, which is that super rare, ultra high performance M4 that's dialed in for the track. We're going to talk about the features specific, compare one to the other. Now I've had the M5 here for quite a while and I'm always looking for the next great thing, and I would say the M4 GTS is the most hardcore BMW in the lineup today. Yeah, there's the i8, that's kind of a different animal, but we'll talk about conventional sports cars by BMW. Today we're going to just preview some of the specs and some of the details. But before we get started, don't forget, just make sure you check out my merchandise on the channel. There's a hot link for that, as well in the giveaway for a camera. Now, let's just do a quick look at the entire car and we'll explain and we'll make some comparisons. Now let's just start with the overall look of the car. The overall look on the E60, of course, is the Bangle era. The Bangle era was Chris Bangle design, where he created these sort of wraparound headlights. The tail lights are unique. And if you look at the spoiler on the M4 GTS, it's very aggressive. Then we come on over to the wheels. We have a standard 19-inch wheel on the M5 here. And if you really look down closely here, you'll see we have steel brakes. Cross-drilled ventilated disc brakes on these cars. Not such as the case on the M4. And the M4 uses carbon ceramic brakes. Then of course we have some of the telltale symbols. M5, you've got your traditional vent system here. You've got the telltale M5. And on the M4 you have its own style. Then we look at things like mirrors. Definitely a simpler mirror setup here. The M4 is a much nicer mirror. It's more the modern look now, of course. Looking at the entire rest of the bodywork, fairly traditional in this car, but when you compare it to when we work our way around to the back, you'll notice the E60 here, we have a little fin here, but that little fin doesn't exist on the M4 GTS. Instead, it has an oversized carbon wing. And then moving right along, you'll notice as well on the E60 M5, we've got the quad exhaust tips here, which you also have on the M4 GTS. You also have the quad exhaust tips there as well. Slightly different layout. Now moving right along. Looking in the back seat of the E60 M5. Now looking through here, of course, this is an M5. They don't call it the ring taxi for nothing. The bond burner, whatever you want to call it, we have back seats here. Not only do we have two seats, we actually have three seats. If you look here, there's seating for three in the back as well as the two in the front. Such is not the case in the M4 GTS, where in that case the entire back area has been stripped, gutted, and replaced with an aggressive racing roll cage. And so then we move more to the interior. Looking at the interior door panels, for example, in this car. Typical for M5 and a lot of other BMWs, of course, you have a well-finished interior door panel. Very nice. We've got leather touch here, leather. In this case, because I don't have the extended leather, we only have the plastic top, finished off nicely with the brushed aluminum. Well, when we look at the M4 GTS, it doesn't have any of that. It actually has a single little door pull and a slight little pad on the door, which allows you a space to rest your elbow. Not much more than that. It's a very simple rig in the M4 GTS because really the M4 GTS is about business, racing business. That's what that's about. Okay, so now we sit inside. We look at the rest of the interior of this car. You'll notice in this car, there's still a lot of plastic. Lots of plastic here. This is not the extended leather as I mentioned. Now, in the M4 GTS, they have actually a stepped up level of trim on the entire interior of the car. As well, you have a beautiful logo on the dash on the M4 GTS that shows that that car means business. And that is a special engraved, not faked. I know BMW is traditionally known for stepping up and badging non-M cars. Well, that is a unique feature of the M4 GTS, is they have that nice little GTS logo on the dashboard here. Now let's go on the inside here. On the E60 M5, you actually have a very nice interior. You have a heads-up display here, and you can tell the panel here. This panel reflects the heads-up display, which gives you a lot of different features. For sure, tachometer, gives you your speed, your rev count, all that stuff. It also sometimes can give you some other details depending on how you configure it in your iDrive system or mDrive. But the M4 GTS also has the heads-up display. As well, if you look at the overall interior here and the steering wheel, this is pretty traditional BMW product. You have a leather steering wheel, you've got the paddle controls here, but if you look at the M4, it has a much nicer Alcantara steering wheel, much fatter, much more padded, and then of course it has the dual clutch transmission shift paddles, which of course are vastly improved because a dual clutch transmission is vastly better than the single automated manual that you had in the E60. So there's some improvements there, and that's more justification for buying the M4 GTS. Now let's pop the hood. Let's look at where the real magic happens. Now I close the door here. We're going to check under the hood here. Pop it up. Now this is the magic of the E60 M5. You have the infamous S85 engine, which essentially is the heart of this car. This is the heart, the soul, the F1 drivetrain in powering this car. The M4 GTS, on the other hand, has a much more aggressively tuned twin turbo 6-cylinder engine that produces almost 500 horsepower, way up from the standard 425 some odd horsepower that you find in a standard M4. The M4 GTS has a lot more jam. But not only that, it has more torque as well, and it's just a finely tuned engine. Now, some other things that you want to take a look at here. I like to make comparisons because the M4 GTS is a very, very cool car. Lots of trick features. We have carbon fiber throughout, carbon fiber on the bottom, carbon fiber on the wing, carbon fiber parts on the interior, but it also has a carbon fiber hood. Now, if you look up here, you've got your standard metal hood here, pretty standard for most cars. As well, you've got your heat shield, and that's basically all metal, pretty traditional finishing. Well, the M4 GTS has none of that. The M4 actually has an entirely complete carbon fiber hood that weighs almost nothing, extremely lightweight. Then one more quick thing I want to show you on the exterior. This car, now we all know that the M6 of this generation, E63, so the M6, had a carbon fiber roof available, as did some of the E90 and 92 BMWs had this available as carbon fiber. The M5 did not have that. That was not available. And so instead you have a sunroof here and a standard metal roof, where the M4 GTS has a wonderful, wonderful, nicely finished, high gloss carbon fiber roof on there, which thus results in a lower center of gravity, reduced overall weight, and improved performance for the track environment. Now, two other trick things I want to mention from the E60 and the M4. The one downside to the M4 is everybody knows it is a track-oriented car. It's trying to compete with the likes of the GT3 911, GTR, Corvette with the modern dry sump systems. It's trying to compete in that marketplace. Unfortunately, BMW looks like they have elected to provide an integrated sump system. So it's not a true dry sump that you would find in, like I said, a GT3, for example, that has a separate oil tank that provides much better oiling under aggressive cornering situations. The M4 does not have that. They use some sort of baffling and whatnot, but essentially it's an integrated dry sump, very much like what you would kind of find in the S85 engine in the E60 M5. So there's one other trick thing that the M4 GTS has going for it, is you don't have it in this car, you don't have it in most cars today because it's a bit more maintenance intensive, if you will. But the M4 GTS has a little trick up its sleeve, and it's water injection. Because of the high boost levels or the elevated heat that you find in the engine compartment due to the intercooling, the high turbo pressures, the higher pressure and overall higher performing levels of that engine produces a lot of heat, up to 220 degrees in some parts of the intake manifold and such. What it actually does is it utilizes a water injection system that actually helps reduce detonation and actually dramatically improve intake cooling, if you will, to actually improve reliability for long, hard driving, for example, in a track environment. So that is another trick. You don't have that in the E60 here. You don't have it in the F90 or the F10. You don't have it in any of the other M3s or M4s. You know, what it is specifically trick for that particular car, the M4 GTS. So guys, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. Really, what I'm trying to get at here is I love my car infinitely, but I'm always looking at the next great thing from BMW because I'm always possibly looking at my next toy. This could very well be the car. It has so many great features to it. It's just, you know, it's certainly not a daily driver. It is definitely a toy. And I'm looking at it because I like the extreme. I like the cars that are dialed in for the track. Do I always drive on the track? Oh no, but I love that feel of the car. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. You make sure you give the video a like. Don't forget to comment, and don't forget, make sure you subscribe to the channel and get in on that contest. You might be the next winner of that waterproof HD action camera. Thanks again, everybody. Mark here checking out. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.